Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sylvia and Peter talking about mental health in general and mental health and well-being in business. And we've been discussing for a while between us and with other people whether there's a point to kindness. Actually, why do we do kindness? There's so much aggro out there in the world, so why do we do kindness? And yeah, does it turn up any sort of warm and fuzzy feelings in us, or it is hard work? Do we really have to think about being kind? Why does it not come to us naturally? I just wonder, Sylvia, do you have any immediate thoughts on whether there's a point to kindness?
Yes, I think there's a great point to kindness. Just talking from my own experiences, if someone's kind to me, it just makes me feel better. Is that warm, fuzzy feeling? And I can almost I feel good. And also if I'm kind to someone else, it's that warm, fuzzy feeling. Doing good does us good. It affects our okay position and how we are, how we interact with people. The world just seems a better place with kindness in it. There's a wonderful image from a lovely book that I have, and it says, kindness sits quietly behind all things, and it costs nothing. Although I do think that there has been, over the years, workplaces have been seen to be a place not for kindness. We come into work, we do our job, we work hard, we play hard, we get our job done and we go home. There isn't a place for kindness. It's not the place for kindness. And I get that. I've been working for many years. And in the past, it doesn't seem to be a place for kindness. Kindness was seen as weakness. It was seen as a bit soft. You had to be dynamic and go-getting and be performing and driving. How does kindness fit in with that? But I think over the years, people are starting to recognise that being kind, empathic, compassionate, sympathetic, because we're all human beings, there is a place for kindness. At the same time, if, in my past life, if I've got to get a massive payment out and I've only got 5 minutes to go, I'm not going to go, would you mind awfully, Peter? It'd be really lovely if you could. It'd be, Peter, I need that and I need it out now. But that's not being unkind. Just being direct or demanding. There is, I think, a place for kindness, and it just makes us feel better.
That's a very interesting point you make there, Sylvia, because we've been asked, you and I, we were panelists at the Risk exhibition talking about is kindness profitable? And one person in the audience asked us, what's the difference between kind and nice? And there is a difference, because in your get things out of the door example, no, you're not being kind, you're not being nice, you're being to the point and let's get it out of the door. That payment needs to be done. But you can still be a kind person. So kind is something that is followed up by action. You do kindness, but you are nice. So we use those words interchangeably very often, and it's not quite the right thing to do. But you can be, if you aim for being nice all the time, you may just be people pleasing and no one respects you at all.
Yes.
Whereas if you're seen as a kind person, people know that you can say no, that they don't always get what they want from you, but you have a kind manner about you and you're treating everybody fairly. And this is where I think kindness starts to pay off and be very profitable. And there is definitely a point to it, because we can all be kind. We have it in us from birth, but we have then learned to be unkind, to be nasty, to be rude, to bully, to do all sorts of things we shouldn't be doing. And then we have to consciously think about kindness. So the fact that we ask the question, is there a point to kindness, shows that something has gone wrong somewhere.
Yes, I think there is. Is there a point to kindness? And I think, yes, it does. It does point that something's gone wrong along the way there. And it's interesting, this difference between nice and being kind. As you say, if you're nice all the time, you can perhaps be seen as a bit of a pushover, a bit of a weakling. So people can be a bit harsh and harder on that person. But kindness for me is more it's more action based, as opposed to a bit light and fluffy from the nice side. But at the same time, it still both generate a positive affect or impact on the person. And I think that's what's so important, rather than being mean or rude or unkind. Yes, I get sometimes being that tough love sometimes on people can get results, and sometimes it can drive people to have great things and improve their performance. At the same time, kindness can also do the same thing, and I think getting that balance between the two for many people is difficult. So I wonder if that's why they tend to err on the tough sort of meanness side, driving people forward. And if only people would try the other side, and the kindness side, the be nicer side, and see what difference that would make. Do they get as much from that person as opposed to being harsh and mean and demanding from that person? It would be an interesting contrast experiment to do. But I do believe that kindness does sit very well in workplaces these days.
Of course it does. And I think the harshness, the stern attitude, the very business-like attitude is something we have been taught from when I first started in my career as an office junior. I had a boss's boss who would be informal in his way of addressing everybody, but we were expected to address him in the formal way. We have a distinction in the Danish language where we can do that. It's almost like us saying sir to him, but him not saying sir to anybody else or madam or anything. So there was definitely this hierarchy, this master-servant attitude, where it was all about putting people in their place. And you can't do that with kindness, some people think. But actually, if you turn it on its head, when do you feel the most? When do you get the best response? That is when you're being kind. That's not when you are being horrible to people. But there is this attitude about business amongst business leaders of old, for sure, that you have to be the tough person. And if you're not, you have no respect, and it's all about respect. So I think a lot of the unkindness that is going on in the world and the workplace is about fear of losing other people's respect. And you think you get it by instilling that fear in them, so they are afraid of you, and then they will do for you what you want. It's just the wrong way around. And those business leaders who operate by kindness and fairness and compassion, all those words you and I love to spread around, they actually see the benefits. Their business is easier to run.
I suppose perhaps businesses are easier to run when you're being, direct, forceful, straightforward. You don't have the wiggle room for the kindness on the periphery. But at the same time, that those leaders that, if they are kinder, picking up on your point about fear, I wonder whether there's an element of, if I show kindness, am I then leaving myself vulnerable to other people perhaps criticising or seeing that I'm a pushover, soft touch, leaving themselves vulnerable. So there's an element of confidence in there to be able to be kind. But I think there is, as you say, it's workplace. So work doesn't have room for, kindness. It's working. But at the same time, we could rethink that and reframe that there is a place for it all, given that we are all human beings and we all respond to the same, or to similar, I should say, triggers, kindness, meanness. Someone's kind to me, how do I feel? Someone's mean to me, how do I feel? At the same time, of course, there are those people that are bullies, that revel in being mean and unkind. But that's, for another time. I think kindness in general, it does make a lot of difference. And I do think the workplaces perhaps need to rethink that it does matter to communications, relationships, from a business angle, performance, productivity, even profitability. Because if someone's, the old adage that I've inherited from a boss many, many years ago is a happy crew is a productive crew. You know, however you define happiness, it means different to different people, but kindness plays a part in that. So if people are okay and kindness plays a part in that, just things are so much easier. Performance is easier. When, you know, when things get tough, people are more resilient. They're more trusting. They'll follow. It just makes more sense, I think. But there is, yeah, I think it's still, for a lot of people, it's still a little bit woolly. But I think if they understood the difference it makes to us as human beings, perhaps they may rethink.
Kindness is one of those things that, as I said, can be a little bit woolly, a little bit fluffy. And I think so many people have gone into the groove of thinking work is almost like punishment. And then we talk about work-life experience, almost indicating that work is not life. Life only happens outside of work, and work is something terrible. Maybe that's why managers sometimes spend 20% of their time sorting out conflict, because we forgot to be kind to each other. Now that's a full working day of a manager sorting out conflict. That's a waste of time, isn't it? When he or she could be far more productive in another way. Now, we've talked about kindness in the workplace. It also works outside of work. We do achieve more. And it would be interesting to hear other examples of kindness or lack of kindness from those of you who are watching this. So I would like to say thank you so much for watching, and do let us have your comments. Every comment is valuable, and we would love to keep the conversation going with you. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye for now.
See you later. Bye-bye.